Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Last week I talked about teaching assistantship. Today I'm going to talk about another method which is awesome and which can help you cover your living expenses as well as tuition fees in United States. Basically, you can study in United States free of cost. Yes, I'm talking about another method. This is called research assistantship. In this video, I'll talk about what is research assistantship, what are the job duties, how to get it, who can get it, and what are the ultimate benefits of being a research assistant. Interested? Stay with the video. Welcome back. Research assistantship, or commonly known as RA-ship, as the name suggests, basically you will be assisting, helping a scientist or a professor in research. And usually the professor is in your department. It could be in other department as well, but usually the case is the professor will be in your department or the scientist will be in your department. In this case, the professor is called as principal invigilator or PI. So the PI is a professor or a scientist in the university, and you will be a beneficiary of research assistantship. So what happens in US universities, these professors, these scientists, they write to different departments, different funding agencies for the grant. And in return, they promise to develop a technology or an algorithm or a product or something, and they will give that product or technology or algorithm back to the funding agency. In return, they will get the money to do the research. And generally, there are different kind of funding agencies. There are government funding agencies, there are private funding agencies, or defense related funding agencies. For example, National Science Foundation, NSF, or NIH, National Institute of Health. These are all government funding agencies, or NASA, right? And the private funding agencies are basically the private companies like Intel, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Micron. These are private funding agencies. And there are also defense related funding agencies, for example, Army Research Lab, Air Force Research Lab, and Navy Research Lab, all the defense research labs, and including DARPA. So these are the funding agencies. So the professor or PI will write a proposal for the funding, they will get the funding, and now they have to complete the project within the time frame that they initially agreed upon. Now the assistantship comes into picture, because now they have the money, but they need a workforce to finish the project, to do the research. And that's when the research assistantship comes into picture. Now they will hire someone who can help them do the research, complete the project. So the typical duties that RA will do is to basically work in a lab, do some experiments, do some simulations, write some algorithms, gather some data, work on a project, work on a prototype of a product, make presentations, present your work in the conferences, national and international conferences, and write some research papers. So these are the typical job duties associated with a research assistantship. In return, you will get paid. The professor will pay you from the money from the grant that he received from the funding agency I just mentioned before. Typically, get $1,500 to $2,500. That depends upon the funding agency, and also depends upon your level of education. For example, if you're master students or a PhD students, but that's plenty of money. It will be sufficient money to cover your living expenses. In fact, you will be able to save some of the money out of it. Awesome, isn't it? And wait a second, and that's not it. A research assistant or RAs will also get the tuition fee waiver, because the professor or the PI will pay your tuition fee out of the funding he has received or she has received. So that is very, very good option, because you will get paid and you will also get tuition fee waiver, 100%. Usually it's a 100% tuition fee waiver. I myself have done RAs for many semesters as well, and every time I was a RA, my tuition fees was paid by my professor from his grant. So awesome. And not only that, the third benefit is you will also get a discounted health insurance through that grant, because your professor will pay for your health insurance. And that's the cherry on the top. So you get monthly money by working 20 hours a week. You get almost 100% tuition fee waiver, and you get discounted health insurance. And that's how I did. I studied free of cost in the United States for 5 years. Didn't pay a single dollar. Now, there are other benefits of being a RA. The best benefit is because you will be working on a project, and there are chances that once you finish the project, once you have the data, you analyze the data, you can get a research publication out of it. And once you have the research publication, that will go into your resume, that will really build up your resume. And that's the best part of being a RA. Another benefit is if you work for, let's say, work on a project which is sponsored by a private company, for example, Intel, Microsoft, Google, and you work there for 6 months or 1 year, it means that you know about the project, and later on, once you finish your course, your MS or PhD, once you apply for a job in that company, you will have an edge over the other candidates who didn't work on their project. So it will also help you get a job in the same company that sponsored your project, just sponsored your RA-ship. I know some of my friends who worked on Intel project during their graduate studies, and later once they finished their study, they were hired by Intel. So in that way, this is a pretty good deal, because finding job in the US is not that difficult, but it's not that easy either. All right, let's talk about who can get the RA-ship. Generally, the RA-ship is given to PhD students or the master students who enroll in thesis. But that's not always the case. But majority of the time, let's say 90% of the cases, the students who enroll for thesis get the RA-ship. So make sure once you apply for a course, if you're applying for a master's course, apply for a master course with thesis so that you have the chance to get the RA-ship. Very important. If you apply for a master's course without the thesis, chances are very less that you will be hired as a research assistant. So make sure you apply for a course that has thesis option. And guys who are applying for PhD program, anyway, you have to write a thesis, you have to work on your thesis, so you guys are good. Now let's talk about how to get a RA-ship. So basically, you have to talk to a professor. In US, it's very common that all the professors, scientists who are active in research, they will have their own web page. You can browse their web page through the university website. Go to the individual professor's website, check out what kind of work they are doing, and if their research work aligns with your research or your future plans, you can write an email and explore the possibility. And if you have been admitted in a PhD program anyway, then you can just write them and ask them that you have been admitted and you want to work with them, and then see what they say. Also, there are a few things that you should mention in your email when you try to approach a professor. I will talk about next time in my next video that how to approach a professor for a research assistant position. There are a few strategies, a few tricks that you keep in your mind when you're writing an email to them. So I'll talk that in my next video. Stay tuned with my next video. That's all for today. I'll see you soon in another video. Take care. Bye-bye.